Hello, everybody, and welcome to, for me, a very special episode of Fargonauts. I don't even know what we're calling this, but this is going to be a look at my personal list of 5 Godzilla movies. And this is meant to be like, if you've never really seen one, maybe you've seen clips or you're familiar with it, this is a list to get you started. It gives you a good taste of the whole history. Got my Broichi boys with me. Give me a good screonk, boys.
Squeak.
Beautiful. That was fucking well done. Good job, guys.
Thanks. I was practicing last time we talked. I was like, I want to do my own.
In my downtime, I should practice my screonk.
I was in the car. I was yelling it out the window, just at a stoplight. I was at work pulling in. I was like, squeak.
I have been unironically. I mean, clearly it's me. It's unironic, but I've been listening to that Mothra theme like on repeat all week.
Nice.
Good.
Masuda, yeah, Masuda.
Well, I'm excited. I'm excited for your list.
This is a personal opinion list. This is not like a ranking of definitive as far as like quality or anything like that. This is just supposed to be a good little sampling to get you through the history of Godzilla. And in my opinion, the choices that I've made are indicative of like a range of not necessarily like the quality of the movie, but certain aspects of the different movies that really shine through.
Awesome. So what? How are you going to rank this? Are you going to do it like from
I'm
earliest
just gonna
to newest, or?
Well, it's not really in a chronological order. It's two of them are out of order for it to be chronological.
Okay.
Well, no, actually, it is. I do have it in chronological order. Yeah. So the first one is probably not surprising, 1954's Gojira or Godzilla.
Nice.
I think it's probably pretty obvious why that is on the list and why it is number one on the list.
Okay, tell us, why you chose it. Tell us the your thought process and why other people should just give this one a shot if, they're wanting to dive into it.
Yeah, so like any of these movies could, you don't have to, I'm not saying like these are the 5 movies you've got to watch or you should watch all 5 of them. You can pick any one of these or none of them if you have no interest. This is definitely not a franchise for everybody, but for the people out there that have any interest or other Godzilla fans, this is just a fun little discussion. So the reason that I picked 1954's Godzilla is I do think that if you're going to watch any of these 5, this is probably the one to watch because it is where it started. It has I would say, some of the most impactful and emphatic elements and moments in it. And there are just so many things about it that are outstanding, not only in the franchise itself, but like as a film. I've talked about it before where Ishiro Honda is the director and the fucking godfather of Godzilla. The movie was like a way for the Japanese people to process and deal with a way culturally for them to deal with the after effects of World War II. Because it came out in 1954, which is very not far off from the actual events of World War II. And it's just like that to me is a little bit mind-blowing. Like I'm sure that we could find examples, but it's not like Pearl Harbor happened in America and then within 5 to 10 years somebody made a movie about like, hey, here's a way for you American citizens to go to the theater and like get some shit out of your system, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I think that a lot of people just see it as like a silly kind of movie about like a giant lizard, and it's like, oh, it's just a man in a rubber suit and stuff like that, which is totally fine. You're not incorrect to like see it like that. But
you can maybe argue some of the later ones are kind of like that, right? But like,
absolutely.
But not, not the OG for sure. Not -1 either.
you've got like the character of Dr. Serizawa in the movie, who is the person that comes up with the oxygen destroyer. And like early on in the movie, there's people coming to him being like, "Wait, are you talking about like you have something that could work against him?" And he gets like irate, where he's like, "Shut the fuck up! Don't ask me about it. Don't ever talk to me about it again. Because if I use this weapon, somebody else is gonna want to get their hands on it and turn it to a weapon that could kill hundreds of thousands of people around the world. Like they're directly making a parallel to the atomic bomb."
Oh.
And spoilers, this is a spoiler for a 1954 movie.
Oh God.
Dr. Serizawa uses that weapon against Godzilla and kills him, but he also commits suicide in the same moment and burns all of his notes in his laboratory as a way of that this information is never going to get in anybody else's hands ever again.
A hero.
Kind of an allegory, I guess, too, for, you know, he's creating this massive this weapon or whatever, and uses it, but doesn't want it to wreak havoc in another way. Kind of, you could say like maybe like the A-bomb or something like that.
Yeah,
right?
that's a perfect response to Oppenheimer and Truman and all those people that dropped the bomb on them. Was like, you put time into this horrible weapon of mass destruction. You used it on people, and you don't have remorse, and now everybody's going to be using it. And that's the travesty of the world that we live in now. Is we live in this nuclear age of we're going to blow up whoever we don't like, or there's that threat hanging over us.
The same exact thing happens in the Metal Gear franchise. Like Shadow Moses Island happens, and then right after that, they start Metal Gear 2, where they're like, every country and small army has their own Metal Gear. And
you're not a legitimate. Yeah, you're not a legitimate country unless you have some kind of nuclear power.
And one thing that I think is poignant about the movie is they never like say like these evil Americans in the U.S. that dropped these bombs or anything. They just talk about it as an event, or they barely like they don't really talk about like Hiroshima, Nagasaki, atomic bombs being dropped. But they just talk about the horrors of war and that specific war in general.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think, like, you get the Akira Ifukube score, you get there's so much about it that is really a beautiful movie. But it's weird to say that about a fucking giant atomic lizard and a man in a rubber suit.
Yeah.
There's a strange dichotomy.
Yeah, and it's getting further and further away from us as like, wow, this looks fake and dumb, right? Like this looks like I can't get into this. Like you're seeing the effects, like, oh, these are all miniatures, this doesn't look good, this is not good quality. But like you got to step outside that and kind of put yourself in that era, in that time frame, kind of, when you watch this movie. Because if you're looking for those details and those things, you're going to see them everywhere, and it's not going to make an enjoyable experience. But if you're just along for the ride, you're there being captivated by these people, being frantic and running through collapsing buildings and whatever else, like you should care, because the techniques that they use to make things happen, like they actually painted on Godzilla's back for frames when he's charging up his laser. They painted the laser on the actual frames. Like they did a lot of fun techniques for their time to convey the destruction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's cool.
That's one thing about this entire franchise, basically up until the Millennium era. For anybody who's not familiar, the like different decades or periods of the Godzilla franchise are referred to as eras, like the Showa era, the Heisei era, Millennium era, and we're currently in the Reiwa era. And those are all directly reflective of the different historical eras of Japan. The Showa, the Heisei, I don't know if it was technically called a millennium for them, but and then Reiwa. So
are they different producers of the thing, or is it all the same people that are making it?
So yes and no. Like there's a lot of carry through until basically somebody passes the torch to the next set of producers. like Ishiro Honda, I don't know exactly how many of these he made, but he made like I think between 5 and 10 Godzilla movies during the Showa era until he
Huh.
got too old or just lost interest in making only Godzilla movies. He made other movies, of course, but
They're
it's
all like produced by like Toho, right?
100%. This is
Okay.
their this
So
is
it's
their
not like
baby.
this is a Showa production. This is a Heisei. Do those words mean something?
They share the same name of the historical era in which they were made during Japan's
Okay.
history. So like
Gotcha.
the Showa era came out during the Showa era of Japan's history. The Heisei,
Yep.
same thing, yeah.
Gotcha.
But they're all Toho. It's just a way that like I don't even know when initially it came out, but that is the nomenclature that's been accepted.
Which makes sense because a decade is kind of like its own generation, right? So grouping those movies in with the generational names or whatever of the eras makes sense.
All right,
So,
we can
like-
move on to the next one if you need to.
Just two more things I want to mention about this. Like this one I think is really special because it really directly reflects real life events. So
Yeah.
like are you guys familiar with the Japanese self-defense force? JSDF.
Nope, not really.
Not much.
It's a very like in a lot of anime or in these Godzilla movies or in Japanese production, they will throw in the JSDF and maybe they've got like mechs or super planes or whatever it is.
Oh,
But the
sure.
JSDF, the Japanese Self-Defense Force, as a part of the aftermath of World War II, Japan was basically like forced to completely disarm.
Yep.
And
Demilitarized completely.
so they were not able to have a standing military, but they were able to have a self-defense force, as in like they're not going to seek any military action, but they will have a force to defend themselves. And they do a lot of humanitarian aid. They do a lot of like definitely did a lot of work during like the Fukushima earthquake and tsunami that happened.
Yeah.
So they were actually formed in 1954. And they're in the movie. They are the like eventually it becomes like G-Force and stuff, like a specific part of the government that deals only with Godzilla.
There was a stick like I don't know if it was a toy line or if it was cartoon or something, but there was a G-Force, and they had like Sentai style like kind of suits almost, like colored.
Wasn't that
suits,
guinea
and
pig
I
movie?
had toys like that. Yeah,
Is that?
but
is that?
I had action figures of all of them: red, blue, black, and white. Like, for lack of a better term, Ranger. For G-Force.
It's a guinea pig movie by Disney.
I want to say that G-Force makes an appearance in a lot of them, especially the Heisei and Millennium era. Like Millennium goes way fucking crazy with it. But then the other thing I wanted to mention about this movie is just it's interesting to me. Shortly before the movie was made, a Japanese fishing vessel, the Lucky Dragon Number 5, was basically like completely irradiated because they were within the nuclear fallout area of the Castle Bravo test. So the entire catch of the fishing vessel, the entire crew of the fishing vessel, the boat itself, completely irradiated without them really like knowing what was going on, came back to Japan, and that spurred a huge anti-nuclear movement that led to the Japan Council Against Atomic and Hydrogen Bombs. And that there's the opening scene is of a Japanese fishing vessel. That's a direct reference to that, and that again had a huge impact on the Japanese viewers who were like still just coming off of it because it had only happened a few months before the movie was made. So it's just it's a goddamn fucking giant atomic lizard movie with a man in a rubber suit that is just commenting on these like super dark and important moments in their own history. And it's such a unique way to process these things.
Yeah, I agree.
So moving on from that one, the next one I have on the list is 1962's King Kong versus Godzilla.
Oh hell yeah, dude! I remember that shit.
The first ever like really big team up. There had been other Godzilla movies where there were other monsters and stuff, but this was the first like, oh shit.
Yeah.
I'm watching the trailer right now. Yeah, Godzilla looks kind of derpy, but
So that's the thing.
Kong looks
Like
kind of dirty.
they're both derpy, but it's fucking
Yeah,
awesome.
right.
This is just silly shit. Like
I
there's
don't know what. Sorry to interrupt. I was
No.
just to say. I want to say just catch. I don't know how I saw Godzilla films so much when I was younger. I got to assume they just played them a bunch on some channel, but I just remember seeing them like Kong, and like those different movies on something on TV all the time back in the day, like early '90s probably. Then from that is when I got like that box set I always talk about. But
Yeah, they must have
Yeah.
shown them on
I
like
don't-
Sci-Fi Channel or maybe like
something
AMC
because
or something.
yeah, because like, do you remember like how you saw Godzilla movies?
God,
'Cause, like-
the only times that I remember was like either I don't remember how I first saw it, but I definitely like after I saw some movie earlier. It must have been on some TV channel, but then like I went out
Gotta
of my
be, yeah.
way to rent them from
Turner
Take-Two
Classic.
or whatever.
It was probably Turner Classic for me.
Yeah, it could've been
Maybe?
Turner Classic, maybe.
I don't know.
I think Robert
'cause
Osborne did like his, marathon, or like he just goes
Yeah.
into like we're just gonna watch
Ozzy
three.
Osbourne?
Because I knew I know I'd come across them before I saw the Matthew Broderick one, and before I had the which was like '97, right?
98, I believe.
'98, so I was 8 years old. So like, but I know I'd seen like the actual Godzilla movies before that, and it was before I had that VHS set too. So it was like must have been catching it up some random TV station from time to time. They'd be on quite a bit. Weird.
All right,
Sorry.
get back to this one.
Well, it's a good point. It's like there's so many ways that people that are fans of this got turned on to it either by like maybe their family showing it to them, or they just catch it randomly, or there's some stuff that have been brought into this. So King Kong vs. Godzilla, 1962. It's the third Godzilla movie, and it's also the third King Kong movie.
Wow.
This is silly as hell, and I love that part of it. Yes, both the monsters look kind of derpy, but that is like
That was great.
the Showa era is basically like you know the clip of like Godzilla basically doing a drop kick where he like slides on his
Yep.
tail along the ground. That's the Showa era. The team up that he had with like Jet Jaguar. That's the Showa
Yep.
era.
They were showing off.
So much of the Showa era is just very silly, very like steered towards children.
They discovered weed.
Yeah.
Some people were on something for sure where they were making some of these movies.
Well, they have like in the trailer, they have that guy that shows up in his short shorts and his safari hat, and he's got these huge teeth, and he's like, "Let's go!"
Mhm.
Yeah,
He's the
comic relief.
editor or the producer of a Japanese like local news station who so the basic plot is like these two reporters or like staff of a journalism like some TV station gets sent not to Skull Island but some different island where King Kong lives. They don't know that, but they're going there just to like research these mysterious berries, this mysterious fruit that seems to have like medicinal purposes. Or no, it's a pharmaceutical company. I it's been a little bit since I watched this one, but when they're there, they find this village, and these villages like, hey, we grow a shit ton of these berries and we make it into a juice. We're not going to tell you what the juice is for, but it's actually to keep this giant gorilla like happy and asleep and kind of drunk. So King Kong fucking shows up, and then they take him off the island, and then he breaks free, and then Godzilla is like, oh, what's this now? And they have their fights. It's very silly. There's so many elements of it that are like, we don't give a fuck. It's the third movie, and we're already 3 sheets to the wind.
So,
Oh yeah.
so this one you would kind
fireworks.
of recommend to just be like, here's how fun and kind of playful the series can get.
Absolutely, because there is this to me is like the perfect example of a dub where none of the lip movements match the words. It's clear that they were just like, we gotta fucking do something with this for the American audience. But even the movie itself, even if it's not the dub, it's so like there's an element where the villagers of the island have to sing a song all together to calm King Kong. But what happens when they're not on the island? Well, they have to make a recording of the people singing the song and then play that. And then King Kong gets all fucking drunk and tipsy, and he's like, and it was just, I think it was a big deal to people at the time because it was like, oh shit, dude, you got your peanut butter and my chocolate. You got your chocolate and my peanut butter. Two great tastes that taste great together.
Yep.
And it's just a fun celebration of it where I don't know that like I ever specifically root for one or the other. It's just like, yeah, King Kong, shove that tree down Godzilla's throat, and yeah, Godzilla gets struck. Or like, there's a weird element where King Kong gets powered up by lightning. They're like, oh yeah, he gets stronger with electricity. It just
Awesome.
uh,
All right.
It's just a lot of fun, and it's a great example of the Showa era. I think it's one of the more watchable ones of the Showa era because a lot of them are just like extended, silly ass sequences of monsters fighting. But this has a good amount of compelling enough human stuff with the monster fights.
Right. And the human aspect
So-
is just there for brevity, or to give some, not brevity, levity.
Yeah, it definitely.
Brevity.
Brevity, levity.
Brevity, levity. Short laughs.
Short laughs.
I'm gonna say that like most of the human elements of the Godzilla movies are just to facilitate the monster fights, where it's like anytime that we cut back to the humans, they're talking about Godzilla. They're talking about how they're gonna fight Godzilla. They're worried about Godzilla. They're always like, it always kind of steers it back that way.
Mhm. Gotcha.
And this, I think, has enough in it where they're doing like this. There's one of the 2 male human characters of the leads that like in one of the first scenes he's like, hey, I created this filament that's like stronger than steel, but it's as thin as dental floss. And he ties it around his belt and then dangles himself off of the like, I don't know, 50-second story of their apartment. And they're like, what are you fucking doing? And I don't think it really ever comes up again, or it comes up like one more time. And like you said, there's a character with like, who's just over the top, silly, and it's just fun. This is just a lot of fun. And that's one of the things about the Godzilla franchise that maybe an American audience would not really tune into is, I mentioned this to you guys before, like the tradition of on Christmas, you go and see the Hamtaro movie, and then it's a dual feature of that, and then right after is Godzilla.
Yeah, it seems
Dude, where was
it's for
Godzilla
kids.
versus Hamtaro, dude? Why
Yeah,
that never happened?
G-Force.
I think it probably
You got to bring
has.
G-Force in there.
G-Force. That's guinea
The
pig.
guinea pig force.
Yep.
That's what I'm talking about.
Godzilla-Kun. Brand collaboration between Hamtaro and Godzilla originating in 2001. They are versions of Hamtaro wearing colorful Godzilla costumes.
And doesn't Japan like
Yeah.
also like, don't they celebrate that Christmas time with like some KFC also?
Oh yeah. Yep. Christmas KFC's big in Japan.
Christmas KFC.
So you get your KFC, go see Hamtaro double feature with
And
Godzilla.
dude.
Damn,
Munching on their
Dude,
fried
that
chicken.
sounds like my kind of Christmas.
that's
bro.
a great Christmas actually.
Yeah, I can take
Fried
a
chicken from Hamtaro and some Godzilla.
That
My
should
bucket.
be incorporated into like the after party of Hork-Bajir.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say that should be the Fargonauts Christmas too.
Get your,
Fried chicken.
get your bucket of chicken. You sit down, you
Yep.
watch a double feature, Hamtaro, Godzilla.
Mhm.
Fuck yeah.
Yep.
All right, what do we have next?
So, next, we're going to move on to 1989's Godzilla versus Biollante.
Ooh.
And this one is a personal favorite of mine because this is the second movie in the Heisei era, which is my favorite era. And this is the first one that really changes the game as far as when it comes to the monster battles. Like, they really, really went out of their way to do new camera movements, new suit and animatronic and puppeteering. Like, they just went all out with doing new stuff, new special effects, and the new ways that they did it. It was a new, the first appearance of the like true Heisei era design of Godzilla, which to me is the best design.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the Heisei era has a couple, maybe more than a couple, but it has a few examples of when Godzilla movies start to get really fucking weird.
Okay.
Hell yeah. Hey,
So,
say that again.
what?
Said, hey, say that again.
Oh, good one, Eric.
Like,
The example of this being really weird is the basic plot outline is a botanist scientist is like trying to mix different genes of different plants, and he's got a daughter, and then his daughter dies, so he mixes his daughter's DNA with that of a rose, and also some Godzilla cells that were like, you know, taken from the thing about the Heisei era is that in the Showa era it was rare, or I don't think it might not have ever happened, that the movies follow a continuity with each other. They're all just pretty much separate, or they only reference the 1954 one.
Okay.
This one is like, fucking, we're getting Godzilla cells from the previous movie, which was 1984's The Return of Godzilla. So that's what Biollante is. It's a mixture of human DNA, rose DNA, and Godzilla DNA.
Crazy.
And it just gets so weird where there's like an American pharmaceutical company that's like trying to get the Godzilla cells to mix it with their own shit, but it's like this weird like Terminator-esque agent who's just coming into rooms and mowing them down with Uzis and stuff.
Damn. So is that I know this is your personal favorite, so what about this one, like when you watched it for the first time where you're like, holy shit, this is crazy?
First of all, the goddamn fucking poster, it's in that image that I shared last time about the Heisei eras of like Godzilla standing in front of the flower rose looking monster.
Mm-hmm.
I just remember seeing that on the shelf at Take Two and being like, wow, just blown away by that art.
Okay.
And then secondly, yeah, the design of Biollante itself is so cool to me. It's like,
the concept's really interesting.
Yeah, it is. It's pretty novel.
Yeah. A rose, like a human DNA.
It's like Audrey 2 on steroids.
Yeah, very much like Audrey 2. And it goes through different like forms or stages throughout the movie, and and again, this is like in the Heisei, this movie gets followed up in the next movie, or is it? No, it's in Space Godzilla, where in the end of Godzilla versus Biollante, when he beats Biollante, it like it goes into its last form, and it turns into just these like glowing spores that leave the Earth and go into space, and those spores get sucked into a black hole, and they get spit out of a white hole, and that becomes Space Godzilla because it contains Godzilla DNA.
Eric's listening.
Hold a hole.
Yeah, we got whole talk going on. I'm listening.
But this is also the first introduction of a character called Miki, who is this is where like psychics come in. And one of the fun scenes in this is like Mickey goes to a school with all these kids, and I think that the kids are like all psychic as well.
Ooh.
And she's talking to the teacher about like, what have the kids been working on? And the teacher's like, the kids have all been having these dreams, and I've asked them to draw what they've been dreaming about. Okay, kids, show us. And all the kids in unison hold up their hands with these pieces of paper, and they've all drawn their own different drawings of Godzilla, and the Godzilla theme kicks in, and it's like, oh shit, dude.
I like that.
And there's like, I don't even know what you would call it. There's like framing devices throughout the movie where it's like different threat levels, where it's like threat level 1, we've detected slight like earthquakes or like tectonic movement that is the very first sign that maybe Godzilla's going to wake up and come back. Threat level 2, we've definitely like seen him moving. Threat level 3, he's coming closer to Tokyo. So like each time that happens, it's like ratcheting.
Threat level
it up.
midnight.
Oh, right.
It's just this
Michael
is
Scarn.
it's got the right amount of weirdness without being silly, and it also just like a new design of Godzilla that looks fucking awesome.
It does actually look really great.
Looks amazing, good effects.
Biollante looks gross in different phases of Biollante, like that last phase with all the tentacles, like and the maw or whatever's going on.
You got like a big Godzilla-esque kind of looking face coming out of the rose. It's just great design.
Yeah, it is.
I have to agree that Heisei is probably that era specifically that you're talking about. The Heisei is probably my favorite look for Godzilla as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's great.
They're all good, but I think that one's my favorite for sure.
Yeah.
I
think it strikes a good balance between all the forms of the Godzillas we've had.
Absolutely. Yeah. This is just, and one thing that's interesting about this is they tried a couple different things. Like they were going to try and use 2D animation to depict like one of the final forms of Biollante fighting Godzilla, and there is deleted scenes of this stuff, so you can look it up and see it, and you can see why they didn't choose it, but it's also like, wow, that is very well done and interesting looking. And another deleted scene was basically Godzilla just like walking through this huge field of multicolored flowers, and that's all it was just like Score, a big atomic lizard walking through a field of multicolored flowers, and it's visually striking and just like, this is oddly contemplative for a Godzilla movie.
Yeah, I could just go to sleep watching this. Yeah. That's what I dream of. Just Godzilla in the poppy field. Yeah.
The 1954 is my go-to of like what you probably should watch, or what they would show in a film school like class.
Sure.
But this is my personal pick of like, this is the one you should watch because, in my opinion, it's got the most fun elements.
It's got some neat character, neat design, neat everything.
So then, moving to the next one in the list is 1991's Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah.
Nice.
I've heard
also
that name.
Part of the Heisei era. And the reason I picked this is if Godzilla vs. Biollante is like a step or two into the pool of weird without being silly, this dives head in, and then you also dump a good amount of silly in there, but it's more weird than silly.
Okay.
It's the one that has like the partially like mechanized Ghidorah, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And a little like fucking micro machine, Polly Pocket, whatever type situation of that version of Ghidorah.
Yeah, that
opened up and had a little like G-force station inside of it. That was the toy.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I thought you were talking about something in the movie. I was like, what?
No. It was just a random toy I had when I was a little kid.
So this movie is really, really weird because it deals with time travel. It deals with aliens. A lot of the Godzilla movies deal with aliens, but like,
does this have like telekinesis or psychic people?
Mm-hmm. The character Miki was so popular that they kept bringing her back during the Heisei era. There's like a UFO that comes down, and these people who are basically like, oh, we're future humans. And I think it gets revealed that they're actually aliens, and they're not actually just future humans. But they're like, oh, we came back in time because in our time the world has been completely devastated by Godzilla, so we traveled back in time so that we can. And it's so weird. They start introducing elements of like, okay, Godzilla came from this one dinosaur on this island called the Godzillasaurus. And if we go back in time and remove Godzillasaurus from the island, it can't become irradiated and become Godzilla. And then come to find out that, and then they've got their like these little I don't know what a good way to describe it is. They're like little cute versions of like a pre-evolved form of King Ghidorah, where they're like little weird flying monster things called Dorats. And you know, they're presenting themselves as like, oh, we're your allies, we're trying to help you out, but then it really is like, oh no, we came back in time to get rid of Godzilla so that we could rule in the future. And these Godzilla is very much a villain in this, and these like Dorats, through it's all kinds of time travel fuckery, but they do become King Ghidorah, and then there's a fight between Godzilla and King Ghidorah, and King Ghidorah loses, and they make a basically like mecha King Ghidorah and shit. And just the ways that they're dealing with time travel, and this also has, I think, a weird ass like Terminator dude who's just like running faster than cars and shit. It's so weird, but the monster fights in this are really, really good. There's like a subplot of Soviets and the US like basically wanting to launch another nuke at one or both of these monsters, and them trying to divert all this. It's just fucking. If Godzilla vs. Biollante was out there, this is so far beyond that.
Nice. Dorats, huh?
Yeah, Dorat. I'm gonna find an image of Dorat and show you Dorat.
Oh, you don't have to show me anything. I've made a few Dorats in the toilet.
I'm familiar with Dorat.
Yeah, but that's a really good one. The trailer also makes it look really cool, captivating. The UFO angle's really fun. I like that. Mecha King
I've seen
Ghidorah
the
looks pretty
Dorats
sweet.
before. It's adorable.
And King Ghidorah is, I would say, probably the most iconic, like rival villain for Godzilla. So it's awesome to see those two going at it. And again, the fucking poster for this, where he's like grappling the different heads. And,
Yeah, that's pretty dope.
Look at that!
Dorats even got a magic card.
Yep,
The
there they are.
perfect pet. Okay.
And they make these weird little sounds and everything. It is just, there's a lot of Godzilla movies that get very, very weird, and this is, I think, one of the more easily digestible examples of that.
Nice. All right, and your
And
last
again,
one.
it's a little bit silly, but not too silly. And then the last one is Shin Godzilla.
Oh boy.
Nice.
Which we like in this list of 5, we haven't included the Millennium era, because I think that those ones are mostly extremely weird or just kind of like boilerplate.
Okay.
So I just felt like it was like it was prudent to skip over those, because it's like, if you can't handle the other 4 on this list, there's no way you're going to tolerate some of the choices I could make from the Millennium era.
So this is moving into the newest era?
Yes, Shin Godzilla is, I believe, the first in the Reiwa era.
Gotcha.
Which is the newest iteration, which we are still in. -1 falls into the Reiwa. And this one, again, kind of has a lot of the same reasoning behind the 1954 one. Shin Godzilla is just visually very, very striking with its design and the different forms of Godzilla. It's pretty scary and terrifying in a lot of ways.
Yeah, his tail is nuts in this one.
But
They've got so many weird forms in this too.
Yeah, there's even one that like we never physically see, but there's been like in a art book or something, they go into the different designs, and even there was another form that had this Godzilla like continued, would have evolved into okay. I'll get to that in a second. The reason that this is on the list is, again, before I made this list before I saw -1. So to me, this is because the other parts of the Reiwa series are that anime trilogy.
Oh yes, yep.
Which I haven't watched, because I just haven't watched them, but I do know that it is a little bit, I don't know, maybe outside of my tastes, even if it does fall within Godzilla.
Uh-huh.
But
Yeah.
this one is, I think, the most poignant because it is another way of the Japanese people addressing the Fukushima incident,
Okay.
where
Mm-hmm.
this Godzilla is not so much a reflection of like the nuclear devastation of the atomic bombs. It's the unstoppable nature, like the tsunami that came through, the earthquake, everything that happened was just completely, you couldn't do anything about it. You just can't.
Right.
Force of nature. Just like old
And-
G-Man.
And not only that, it was a return for Toho after Final Wars, which was like 2000 something. Yeah, 2004 was Final Wars, the last movie in the Millennium era.
Mhm.
And that for a long time was going to be the last Godzilla movie. And that's
It's
happened
got
multiple
final in the
times.
title, dude.
Yeah. That's happened a few times where they've been like, all right, either due to like reducing sales or whatever it is, we're gonna take a break from Godzilla maybe forever. But then for one reason or another, Toho was like, we still got more in us.
Yeah.
And for their return to be Shin Godzilla specifically, where you've got Hideaki Anno, the guy who's responsible for
Evangelion.
I've never watched Evangelion, but from what I understand, it itself is a very like stark, horrific exploration of these certain themes and
It's
ideas.
very philosophical, very
Oh.
psychological. Yeah, there's a lot it digs deep into that realm.
And I think that is very clear how it carries over, where you have like a lot of depictions of just straight up people getting massacred. Like a lot of times in Godzilla movies, that's implied or we don't directly see these people dying, but in Shin Godzilla, we see hundreds of people just getting fucking obliterated in a lot of different ways, and it's kind of shocking.
Mhm.
The other side of that in this movie is part of the reflection of the Fukushima incident was there's a lot of scenes in this movie of people in boardrooms talking, and it is like portraying the amount of bureaucracy and red tape that they had to go through to deal with the Fukushima incident, but also like how that could be applied to something like a giant atomic lizard showing up.
Yeah, kind of like it's reminiscent of in my, when I watched the HBO miniseries Chernobyl, where, they didn't want to, they just denied that they caused this thing to happen, or, there was a lot of people at fault for the incident happening, and nobody wanted to be blamed for it, or like, there was so much red tape and bureaucracy that went into like the investigation of what went down, because it affected not just Chernobyl, but it affected like people in Europe, like in, people were picking up these spikes in radiation from as far as like Portugal and United Kingdom and things like that. So the main point is that the bureaucracy that happens in times of devastation is legitimate, because nobody is like wanting to place blame on like, is it something we did? Like what is like something we have to do about this? Like it's affecting the world. So it's like, move past this bureaucracy and government like red tape crap and just kind of do it for the common good of like the people and citizens of your country, but nobody sees it like that. And it's kind of just like the world we live in, it's like, well, government's going to withhold information. They're going to have all these discussions behind closed doors, so the public doesn't catch wind of things, and there's an uproar and panic that, whatever.
Yeah. And because of the earthquake and the tsunami, there was the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant that was breached, I guess is like a good word for it.
Yeah.
they had to sound fallout warnings and like it what
You
a
know how terrifying
horrific
that must be for Japan.
God, I know, dude. Like actually in the Monarch show, there's a scene that we watched of like the one person on the beach in Bikini Atoll that is Japanese is like, please don't fucking do this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
God. Yeah, it's just like it's an interesting look at how Japan might, because so much of the bureaucracy comes from like if like America, these different countries, they're seeing this happen and they're worried about if it spreads to them. So they're like, hey, if you guys, Japan, can't take care of this, we're gonna step in and fucking nuke the thing, or we're gonna take our own steps. So they have to very carefully balance like how much aggression can we take as a country that has very vehemently ourselves declared that we're going to demilitarize. Like we don't want to use these methods because we have sworn it off. And what does that say about us if we do decide to go down this route? But we kind of have to fend off greater repercussions from somebody else. But it's a very, very introspective look at these people, and it's just interesting in that way. Sure, a lot of those scenes can be very boring of people just sitting in rooms talking, but I think some of that gets made up by how striking a lot of the Godzilla action is.
Yeah, I agree.
And then the thing I was saying about like the different forms, you know, the Shin, like the Godzilla, the standing on two legs with the dinosaur head and the little arms and tail and everything. That is like the fourth form, and the end of the movie, the last shot of the movie, when he's been like dealt with and basically frozen solid, it's like a tracking shot going down his whole body and up his tail, and at the end of the tail there's these like humanoid creatures that appear to be coming out of his tail, and they have like the dorsal spikes on their back. So it's like theoretically this thing would have kept evolving and become a humanoid form, and there's even pieces of concept art of like it continuing to evolve past that where it becomes almost like a fucking biblical angel.
Holy shit.
Oh,
Yeah,
hell
like,
yeah. Dude.
it actually becomes a god or some. It's just
Makes sense for Anno with the Evangelion past.
And the, you know, god part of Zilla.
Because
Well,
weren't
yeah.
the monsters in Evangelion called angels, or
Angels, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Evas, yeah, there's Evas. And...
Yeah, the yeah, once they convert them into the suits or whatever they call them, Avas, but like that whole series is rife with Christian imagery and illusions.
I feel like I would be missing out if I watched that just because I don't know a lot of the Christian.
It's fairly obvious stuff. Like it's not deep lore.
Mhm.
Like it's like there's big shining crosses and like they're called angels and shit. It's just it's pretty base level stuff. It's not.
Yeah, and the angels are seen as like the threat. So yeah, they're
If somebody could explain to me the Christian lore without me having to read the Bible, I would be so fucking in. Like, please enlighten me.
Oh, dude, dude, there's a comic version of the Bible called the Action Bible, dude. It's pretty tight. There's one I saw that was like a biblical comic that was about the war between the archangels and like Satan and his demons. It's pretty metal.
World's Finest featuring Jesus.
Yeah. It's the cool, all the cool stuff, all the cool like religious lore stuff is like Old Testament / like in the Jewish mysticism stuff, and like the Kabbalah stuff, and like that's where you get all like the things with like the giants and like the biblical angels and all that stuff is all like cool.
Where do
Testament-y
Lot
stuff.
and his wife fall in? Is that New or Old Testament?
That's old, because that was spiteful God.
Sure. Well, I mean,
When God's just murking people, that's Old Testament.
when is God not murking people?
Because New Testament's all the Jesus stuff and Jesus related. Old Testament is him giving people choices and then people inevitably screwing up and him being like, all right, guess what? Someone's dead now.
All of
Or-
the
or
Jesus.
the whole world's dead now except for a dude and his family.
So that is my list of 5 Godzilla movies that I think stand out to me personally in the history of Godzilla.
Like that list.
The last one that I'll just give an honor. I've got a few honorable mentions, but I'll just mention one of them honorably, which is the short version of the title is GMK All Out Monsters Attack, or
Yeah.
Godzilla, Mothra, and King Ghidorah Giant Monsters All Out Attack is the full title. The reason that this one is a honorable mention is it is a Millennium era, which I felt like should have some inclusion, but
Yeah.
to me this is like the weirdest one for sure. Because in this one, Godzilla is a bad guy, absolutely a bad guy,
Bad guy.
Hell yeah.
but the Godzilla in this is not a irradiated lizard. It's not anything like that. It is a spiritual manifestation of all of the tortured souls which died in World War II.
Wow.
So it's literally like a ghost that has become this giant lizard monster that is taking vengeance on Japan because of what Japan did during World War II.
That's some heavy-handed symbolism there. I dig it.
It's fucking bonkers, mad bonkers. King Ghidorah is a good guy.
What?
Mothra, King Ghidorah, and Baragon fucking all team up. They're like the guardians of Earth, and they gotta team up to fight Godzilla, and it's just crazy.
Weird. Is Final Wars the one where he fights the U.S. Godzilla? There was I forgot there was a Netflix like anime series too. Like outside of those 3 like trilogy of movies.
Yeah, I forget what the name of that series was.
It's like Singular Point or something.
Isn't that the name of? I thought that was the name of those movies as a whole. I don't know.
Let me see. I was just looking at Total announced plans for anime series called Godzilla Singular Point. Yeah, that's the name of the series, the television series.
Holy fucking shit. Yeah. But Final Wars is basically like a celebration where they got as many of the old monsters and vehicles and alien races and stuff in there as they could.
Hell yeah, dude.
Well,
OG,
thank
man,
you.
This makes me wanna go watch some Godzilla movies.
Yeah, I hope it did for everybody watching, and thanks Wilson for sharing his favorites or the ones that he believes might be a good introduction and a good semblance of what you can get from some of these, where it be more depictions of what it was like living through those times and those eras, but also, you know, the fun aspect of Godzilla too, because that's also a big draw to this culture. You know, you get to see all these different eras, but also how Godzilla affects these different eras, or why Godzilla's coming in now. You know,
Coming in hot.
I got something to say.
One of my all-time favorite videos is a behind-the-scenes video of the 3 different suit actors from the Showa era, the Heisei era, and the Millennium era, basically all getting together and just talking about like, this is how I was Godzilla, and this is how I was Godzilla, and it is so wholesome and amazing.
That's awesome.
Like, there's a shot. There's like a few different shots of them all walking down the sidewalk together, and them doing their basically Godzilla performance outside of the suit. They're all just like, they've all got the little T-Rex arms and doing their. It's so good.
That's really great. I love that. Oh my
god! I'm gonna find that and link that to you guys.
That's really great.
Yeah.
And it's like I fucking worship these guys. Like these 3 men who got in the suit and did their shit. Like the fact that some of the there's a whenever you see Godzilla in like waist high, like in water, like he's in the ocean, that's in the Toho pool basically, which is like, you know, one of those giant water tanks that they have.
Yeah, it's just the YMCA pool.
And there were times like during the Heisei era where the person in the suit knew I can't fall over or I'm going to drown in this suit.
Yeah. You could waterboard yourself.
They're having pyrotechnics fired at them and the suit's catching on fire and shit. And they're like, I will sacrifice anything for my art.
Oh,
That's
yeah, dude.
that's pretty badass if you think about that. It's like
Right.
going mascot to like a hardcore level.
Well, gee, man, dude. We should say like a lot of the Godzilla movies are available on various streaming
Yeah,
services.
that's true. Yeah.
I know
a lot of
Max
them.
has some,
Yep.
and I think maybe Hulu has some too.
There's a number that are
Max
available.
seems to have the Showa, or no, not yeah, the Showa era, I think.
Mhm.
Hulu has I think it's Hulu or Amazon Prime. I don't remember. It's one of those two. Has like was Space Godzilla and stuff. That's Heisei, right?
Space Godzilla is Heisei, yes.
Yeah, so I think Heisei stuff's on there. I don't know about Millennium stuff, but
I know that a lot of the Millenniums are currently available. Like I linked to you guys, there's like a 5-movie marathon on YouTube of a lot
nice.
of the Millennium eras.
Hell yeah. That's what I like to hear.
So yeah, any chance you get, you should go watch some of these. If you haven't seen them, if you want to take the dive after maybe seeing Minus
Hold up.
One, have that introduction with that. You want to learn more about Godzilla, definitely check out those streaming sites that provide it.
But Wilson, what about Son of Godzilla?
Whoa, what do you mean? What do you mean, Eric? What do you mean?
But what about it? I just
You
remember
mean-
that was part of my box set. I think that was like Godzilla, so I saw that little
You mean
bastard
the
so many times.
character? Like you just talking about the film in general?
Just what about it? How do you feel about it?
I don't really want to watch that one because it's got Little Manila in it, and it is like it's part of the show era. It's silly as
Yeah.
hell. It's
It's so dumb. I loved it when I was a little kid. It was so.
the best.
Who's that little boy? Was it a little boy in the costume? You know?
No, they wouldn't put a
Was it a
little
little
boy.
man? Was it a little man?
Marchand the dwarf
Okay. Was a little man.
is the person. Yes, is the little man. In my opinion, the best depiction of a mini Godzilla or the child of Godzilla is in the Heisei era. They introduce it in Godzilla against Mechagodzilla, I believe, the one that's got Rodan.
Okay.
He's just a
Yeah.
little baby boy. And then in Space Godzilla comes down from space and captures little baby boy and traps him in a crystal prison. And then in Godzilla vs. Destoroyah, he takes up the mantle and at the end of the movie becomes the new Godzilla, and it's fucking so dope.
Hell yeah, dude, that's what I like to see. I always think about my boy Gadzuki. Gadzuki. from
Don't
the
probably
fucking
have-
anime.
Don't
Yeah,
give
you
him
pro-
any thought.
you-
Don't give him any thought.
No, I think Eric is justified in because I know Eric and he has this kind of weird sensibility of like maybe just daydreaming and just that's the first vision that pops into his head when he's daydreaming and that makes him laugh. He's like,
But I just think because like we were talking about earlier, like I always would come across, Godzilla movies on TV and stuff like that, or that cartoon, and then I got a hold of that box set, and one of them was Son of Godzilla, and for some reason, and I remember seeing that one on TV because when I got it, I was like, oh, it was this movie, and watched that. So it's for some reason there's a strong nostalgia point for me with Godzilla is just the random weird like Children of Godzilla stuff. Whereas the Son of Godzilla movie, the Godzuki and the animated series, and there's fucking the weird little babies in the 1998 movie.
Yeah, that's one that I haven't revisited in a long time, as I haven't actually sat down and watched Godzilla 1998. I used to have a VHS of it, so it was something that was in rotation.
I still have all my VHSs of Godzilla. I got that 98 one, and I still have my box set too.
But
Which,
Destoroyah is where you get burning Godzilla, man. How? Oh
Oh
man.
hell yeah, dude! My box set, I just found a picture of it online. Had Godzilla vs. Gigan, Godzilla
Gigan?
1985,
I like
Gigan,
that's good.
Gigan, Godzilla 1985 or 86? 85?
Rodin?
85?
Rodin?
Well then,
Gigan?
okay.
King
So
Kong?
85 is the, I believe that's, wait, hold on.
Just says Godzilla 85 on the
Yeah,
spine.
it gets a little bit weird when it's like the Americanized versions.
Yeah. Yeah, because they spell Ghidorah wrong on this too. They call him Ghidra.
Yep. So the
Ghidra, the
1985
three-headed something.
1985 is a heavily re-edited American localization of The Return of Godzilla, which was in 1984, the first movie in the Heisei era.
Interesting. Yeah, it's Ghidra, the three-headed something monster, maybe.
Yeah, yeah.
Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla and Son of Godzilla. I mainly got it, I think, because of first Mechagodzilla, because I always really liked Mechagodzilla.
So if anybody out there likes music, especially hip hop or rap music,
Rippity raps.
rippity rap, check out the album King Ghidorah, Geedorah. Take Me to Your Leader.
Okay.
Hell yeah.
That's a pseudonym of MF Doom.
Oh,
and
nice.
The album is fucking fire, and it uses it
Love me my Doom.
incorporates mixes of different Toho monster movies, especially King Ghidorah stuff, and it's just Phasers, the song Phasers. Oh.
Well, Wilson is frothing at the gash right now, so that's our time to sign off.
I told you last week. I'm always thinking about Godzilla. It's like there's one synapse in my brain. All it takes is just one tiny little thought. Think of a wonderful thing.
Yeah, that could make you fly. That is making you fly right now.
That would be my happy thought.
You don't. Yeah, you don't even need pixie dust, dude.
And Gundam and Macross and this shit, and I'd be like, I'm fucking flying, bitch.
Mechs and Kaiju all day, every day.
Well, thank you, Wilson.
I don't know how that came about, but yeah, that is like so much of my, not personality, but like that's where the core of my interests.
You said
can whittle
this
it
before.
down to a few
We know.
things.
You just like. I think you've announced this at one point. You can kind of correct me, but you said I'm into the creepy creatures, or like you said something like that. I like creature features, or
that is definitely true. I like creature features. I like if it's a movie like Pumpkinhead or any of this shit. If it's just a movie or a TV show or whatever about like a weird creature, I'll give it a shot.
Yeah. You like them Del Toro movies?
Yeah.
Even
why wouldn't
I?
Hellboy. He's a weird creature.
There's Pacific Rim, my guy.
Spooky creatures.
What's his name? Patrick Bateman. He's a weird creature.
He is a weird creature.
You like Jaws?
Jaws. Yep. That was always such a like schoolyard conversation. Like, who would win, Godzilla, King Kong, or Jaws?
Right.
Ooh.
I mean, theoretically, anybody but Jaws would win. He's
Yeah,
like 25 feet versus stories tall.
And if you got a cop, if you have a cop with a rifle and some oxygen tanks, he's already down.
Who would Brody team up with? Would it be King Kong because they're both like kind of New Yorkers, or would it be Godzilla? Or oh my god, Quint would absolutely be like, "This Godzilla's got the right idea, Chiefy." He'd climb up on Godzilla's shoulders and be riding him and shit.
In the water.
In the what?
In the water.
In the water, of the water, above the water, Chiefy.
With the water, Chiefy.
All right. Well, we're gonna have to end this conversation here. Thanks everybody for sticking with this, and thanks Wilson for giving us his list.
Yeah.
Thanks for letting me get it out of my system.
Yeah.
Top 5 dead or alive.
Hopefully, you already witnessed our digression session about Minus One, so definitely go give that a watch if you haven't. And our discussion of that, led by Wilson again, because he was very adamant to discuss that one too, as we all were, because it was a great experience, and it kind of reignited my interest in Godzilla too. And it's like we said before, it's getting an extended run, and more theaters are opening itself
Extended
to
and
it.
expanded, yeah.
Extended and expand. So you get the chance to go see it. Honestly,
The one takeaway from that piece of news is that this definitely means we will be getting more Toho Godzilla theatrical releases.
I think this is the best theatrical release for a Godzilla movie in the a Japanese Godzilla movie in the US. I think.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I should ask very, very quickly. Does Minus One get close to your top 5?
Your personal, I guess, top 5.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I would have to watch it a couple more times. I'm going to say yeah. Like, this is a list that I kind of put together for other people. If I wanted to come up with my own list, some of these would definitely be on there, and I think Minus One would also be on there because it is so well done, and they do some stuff with the character of Godzilla itself that I've never really seen before. Like the ways, we were talking about, like him sticking his head up out of the water and chasing them, and how terrifying that is. Yeah.
Cool.
Right on. And definitely stick around for other discussions, because hopefully soon we'll have Broadshow's list. And at Broadshow, you want to introduce your list, what you're working on.
We're gonna be hearing the blues a calling, fellas. Tossing salad and scrambling eggs.
Hello, Tokyo. I'm listening.
the intro of Frasier with the Seattle skyline, but then Godzilla comes walking.
Little beautiful Godzilla going in there. Hey baby, I hear Godzilla calling. Toss salads and scrambled eggs.
Screonks.
Destroying again.
So yeah, look forward to that. Keep notified. Hit the notification bell. Hit that like button and subscribe. Maybe comment your favorites in the comments below. Which ones your personal few are, if you have any. Anything and everything. Leave it in the comments below. And thank you for watching.
Scream.